It was a typical rainy afternoon when Emma and Jake first met Max. The little rescue dog had been found wandering the streets alone, battered and bruised, with patches of fur missing from his small body. Emma was used to adopting rescue animals. She had always believed that every dog deserved a chance at love and care. But something about Max was different. There was a quiet sadness in his eyes, a look that spoke of pain and trauma far beyond his physical condition. Max was brought to the shelter on a cold, wet night. His ribs were visible under his thin, matted coat, and his eyes were sunken, full of distrust. He had been through things no dog should ever endure. The shelter staff had done their best to clean him up and give him the attention he needed, but they didn't have the resources to provide the level of care he truly required. Emma and Jake walked into the shelter that day with no specific dog in mind. But when Emma locked eyes with Max, she knew. She looked at Jake, her partner in life and in rescuing animals, and nodded. "I think he's the one," she said softly. Jake didn't hesitate. They filled out the adoption paperwork, and within hours Max was in the back seat of their car, heading home. At first, things were blissful. Max adjusted to his new home quickly, despite his rough beginnings. He had a kind nature and was playful, slowly learning to trust Emma and Jake. He would chase after tennis balls in the backyard, his tail wagging like mad as he learned what it meant to have a home. But as the days turned into weeks, Emma and Jake began to notice something wasn't quite right. Max's energy seemed to fade at unpredictable moments. One day he would play for hours, only to collapse exhausted in the corner of the living room the next. Other days, he would sit by the door, his eyes distant, and wouldn't move no matter how much they called to him. Emma's heart sank every time she saw the far-off look in Max's eyes. It wasn't just his energy levels. Max began to exhibit strange physical symptoms that they couldn't explain. He would suddenly start scratching incessantly at his ears, almost as if something was inside them, but nothing could be found. His coat, once glossy and beginning to grow back after being shaved for treatment, started to thin again. His skin would flare up with patches of redness and irritation. It was a mystery. Concerned, Emma and Jake rushed Max to the vet. The veterinarian, Dr. Anna, was experienced with rescue dogs and was immediately empathetic toward Max's plight. She ran blood tests, checked for parasites, and examined his skin for any signs of infection. "His symptoms aren't clear-cut," Dr. Anna said, shaking her head after reading the test results. "There are a lot of possibilities, but we need to narrow them down. He could have an autoimmune disorder, or it could be an allergy or reaction to something we're not seeing yet." They began a round of treatments: antihistamines, antibiotics, and special skin ointments. But Max's condition didn't improve. In fact, it seemed to worsen. His coat became dull and patchy. He started losing his appetite, which was the biggest red flag for Emma. Max had been a good eater when he first came home, but now he barely touched his food. Over the next few weeks, the couple made regular visits to the vet, each time hoping for some new breakthrough. But the tests came back inconclusive. Max's symptoms didn't match anything typical. The couple's hearts were breaking, watching the dog they had grown to love deteriorate without understanding why. They couldn't help but feel that they were failing him. One late night, as Emma sat curled up on the couch with Max lying beside her, a sudden thought crossed her mind. She recalled the rescue shelter mentioning a past owner before he had been abandoned. She had initially brushed it off as irrelevant information, but now she wondered if there was something they hadn't shared with her. Determined, Emma reached out to the shelter. She wanted to know more about Max's history. After a few days, she received a call from the shelter director. "We found some old records," the director said, sounding apologetic. "Max came from a home that had a history of neglect. The owners were unfit, and we had to step in. Unfortunately, we don't have much else on his health history before he came to us." Emma felt a wave of frustration, but also a flicker of determination. She had to find out what had happened to Max before he came into her care. She turned to social media and reached out to local rescue groups, hoping someone might know more. A few days later, Emma received an unexpected message. It was from a woman named Carol, who had once been Max's foster parent. She explained that Max had been found abandoned on a farm, starving and covered in flea bites. But she revealed something that sent a chill down Emma's spine. Max was given several medications by the previous owner, Carol wrote. Some of them were unregulated and dangerous for dogs. We think he might have been poisoned or given something that caused lasting effects. Armed with this new information, Emma returned to the vet, and they decided to run more specialized tests. This time, they tested for any remnants of toxins in Max's system. After a long and nerve-wracking wait, the results came in. It was confirmed. Max had been exposed to dangerous levels of toxins that had likely affected his immune system. The doctors explained that the poisoning had likely triggered an autoimmune response, which was causing the symptoms Emma had noticed. The damage done to Max's body was slow to heal, but with proper care, they were optimistic that he could recover, though it would take time. From that moment on, everything changed for Max. His treatment plan was adjusted, including medications to help rebuild his immune system, a strict diet plan, and regular check-ups. The journey was long, but Emma and Jake never gave up. They showered Max with love and patience, helping him heal both physically and emotionally. They even made sure to keep a journal of his progress, celebrating the small victories. Months passed, and Max slowly regained his strength. His coat started growing back thicker, and his skin cleared up. His energy returned in bursts, and slowly, the joyful dog adopted began to emerge again. One bright sunny morning, as Emma and Jake were sitting in the backyard, Max trotted over to them, wagging his tail furiously. He lay down at their feet, looking up at them with those deep, soulful eyes. Emma felt a lump in her throat as she ran her fingers through his soft fur, the warmth of the sun enveloping them all. "Look at him now," Jake said softly. "We almost lost him." "We didn't give up on him," Emma replied, tears welling in her eyes. "He's our family." Max's story became one of hope, one that spread through social media, touching hearts around the world. People who had followed his journey praised Emma and Jake for their dedication and love. It was a story of resilience, not just for Max, but for the couple who had fought for him when no one else could. Emma wrote a blog post about Max's recovery, sharing the full story from the very beginning, the heartache, the uncertainty, and finally, the triumph. The post quickly went viral. People from all over the world reached out to share their own stories of rescue dogs and the emotional bonds they had formed. It sparked conversations about the importance of adopting rescue animals and the need for more awareness about the effects of neglect and abuse on pets. Max's face, once filled with sadness and fear, now radiated joy and love. His transformation was nothing short of miraculous, and Emma and Jake couldn't have been prouder. In the end, Max's mystery symptoms didn't just break hearts, they brought people together in a way they never expected. Max lay by the fireplace, resting peacefully, his head nestled on Emma's lap. Jake sat beside them, smiling as he watched their beloved dog. It wasn't just the end of a story, it was the beginning of a new chapter, and they knew with absolute certainty that Max would always be home.